Good morrow, everyone. Happy Palm Sunday. Yours truly, Frank Morano here. I'm doing that 5, 4, 3, 2 kind of deal for two reasons. One, because Smirkanish used to do that on his YouTube broadcast, and I felt it was good to give a little pre-roll. And I noticed yesterday's live video came in a little bit late. So I was cut off in the middle of my good morrow, in the middle of my first greeting, which was kind of a bummer. So additionally, I'm a big fan of the motion picture Wayne's World, and I love when Garth and Wayne are learning the cues and they're going 5, 4, 3, and then learning not to say 2 or 1. Hey, want to welcome a very special guest on this Palm Sunday, John A. Tabacco Jr., although I suppose now that he has a son with that same name, he's more like John A. Tabacco the second, much like Joe Kennedy the second. John, good to see you. Happy Palm Sunday, my friend. Can you hear me? I think it's you. I think I'm on a pretty good connection.
All right, I don't know. I feel like I have 3 bars right now, but you were breaking up a little bit. Now it's good.
Excellent.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
It's great to see you.
I've been getting
John, you're freezing. You're freezing, John. So I don't know if you can get to an area. I don't know if you can get to an area with better internet and then rejoin us. But I know you're on the campaign trail, trying to get signatures for Cara Castronova. If you can hear, all right, John, we're gonna say, all right, John. I don't know if we can get rid of you, but John, disconnect and come back because we're
all right. Okay. You know, I wish I had time to rant about this, and I don't know if this affects you, Frankie. But you know, these Spectrum free Wi-Fi's, when you drive past them, sometimes they capture your phone, right? And you wonder why, like, your connection's bad, and then you go to Wi-Fi and it says register, right? They like snag you somehow. And it's happening all over Staten Island. It's insane. So I just
John,
had to go.
now I'm actually able to hear you. So stick around for a minute. Hey, real quick, I know you're out there getting signatures for Cara Castronova for U.S. Senate, and you're looking for any Republicans in the whole state of New York that either want to carry petitions or sign them. If people want to help, if they want to volunteer, or if they just want to sign, what's the best way for people to do that?
Okay, Frank, you'll appreciate this. Cara, along with the Gateway Pundit, is doing the first ever petition mail-in campaign. So people can go to cara4senate.com, cara4senate. When you go to the homepage, there's a petition there. Now, people who just want to help by getting us a signature, they don't live downstate, click it, hit print. If you have a black and white printer with any size paper, you print one out. You have your husband or your partner witness it. You sign it. Print out a second one. Have them sign it. You witness it. Fold them up. Put them in an envelope. Put 68 cents on the corner and send it to the address on the petition.
But the key is, the most important aspect of that is go to cara4ussenate.com.
It's Cara4Senate.
Cara4, F-O-R, Senate.com.
Not U.S. Senate. Cara4, the word for F-O-R, Senate.
And John, if people aren't up on Cara, maybe they don't even know that there's a U.S. Senate race this year. Let's say they're a Republican who's what you're looking for signatures from. What's so great about her? Why should people care if she's on the ballot or not?
Well, you know the background, but for anybody who's thinking about it, wants to learn a little more, go check her out. Go to cara4senate.com, of course. But to me, one of the things I know about her that I think is best characterizes her, she's a 2-time Golden Gloves champion. So she's got the heart of a lion. She's got the persistence and work ethic of any man I know, and anyone else. She's committed. She's focused. She writes Gateway Pundit. She's also my co-host on Newsmax, so she's as American as they come, as America first as they come. Supports Donald Trump 100% from day one, And another thing that people should know, if you're thinking about, who the Trumpist candidate is, who the We the People candidate is, Kara formed an organization called Citizens Against Persecution.com. Their sole focus was to raise money for January 6th prisoners, to help them with their legal defense fund, to help their families with extra expenses when their husbands would hauled away to jail pre-trial, no due process, and people had to pay their mortgages, people had to pay medical bills. And Kara, I think she's almost to $3 million, writing stories about prisoners, and then the GoFundMe money goes right to them and their families. So here's someone who's been fighting against political persecution, who was happy and proud to stand up and say, "I'm pro-Trump all the way." And Frank, I'll just say, people in the opposition camp are trying to hang around her neck that when she was younger, she voted for Obama,
A
and
lot of people did.
yeah, and she said, like, I didn't scrub that from my Twitter on purpose because I want people to know how inspired I was by Donald Trump. So, like, other people are out there, deleting their podcasts because they're shit talking on Trump, and deleting old tweets when they're shit talking on Trump. And Kara leaves it out there. So, this is someone who's an amazing champion of America First principles, medical freedom. She started the group Liberate New York, doing rallies in Albany during the lockdowns. And to me, you never seen a fighter like her. And I would say go to karaforsenate.com, learn a little more about her. She's going to vote with Donald Trump, and she's going to be for America First.
Yeah, the only thing I'll reiterate is that the deadline is coming up. So if you're interested in signing Kara's petition to help get her on the ballot, even if you're not sure who you want to vote for, but if you just want to sign, or if you just to make sure voters have a choice and that this is not a selection that's crammed down to them from party bosses from Mount Olympus, go to karaforsenate.com. Or if you want to help get a couple of signatures, this is the home stretch here. So do it today. Today is a great day to do it because it's Palm Sunday and Purim, I think. A lot of people are going to be connecting with family this weekend, seeing a lot of friends. And if any of them are registered Republican, get them to sign a couple of signatures.
Okay. And I want to tell people who watch this now, later, on Tuesday night, we're having a pizza petition Palooza event at Max's Esca from 6 to 9 on Tuesday. We're going to be honoring Scott Lebedo, the pizza protester, and he's calling on all his folks to come on down and sign for Kara. Many people came to our event last week and left with sheets, so we're asking people to return them. There's going to be free pizza for all, thanks to Max and Allie over at Esca's. And
Wow.
I expect to get a big haul coming in. A lot of Staten Islanders came out and they were impressed when they met Kara and said, "You know what? Give me some more. I'll get my cousin. I'll get
Great.
my neighbor." So I'm expecting a nice haul. And then we may have a couple of special guests, not yet ready to announce.
Great.
But I'm setting a goal for 1,000 for Tuesday night.
Right. Well, and so if people want to be a part of that and get some free pizza, sounds like a great opportunity to hang out with John, hang out with Kara, get some free pizza, meet Scott Lebedo, and have a good time and help give the voters a choice in June. Hey, John, good luck. I know you're on the campaign trail. We'll chat later. John A. Tabacco Jr. You can also catch him. Thank you, my friend. You can also catch him regularly on the show that he hosts, Wise Guys, which is very, very popular on Newsmax Saturday nights. And just Google John Tabacco, Tabacco. The whole world opens up. Felix says Scott Lebedo needs to have a show on WABC. Felix, Scott is such a visual guy. I think he needs a TV show, not a radio show necessarily. Felix is one of the 3 people watching. He says happy Palm Sunday to all. I completely agree. I'll tell you what I've never been able to figure out. How to do this. I have always been impressed and amazed by the people that are able to make a cross out of palm. This is one we got at church this morning. My wife took the pin out of it because Carmine kept playing with it and she didn't want him to prick himself, but I've never been able to figure this out. Maybe this is why I never became a priest, because I could never figure out how to make the palm. But if you can figure it out, feel free. If you want to make a video put it in the comments. I'll encourage people to check it out. But I've had people try to explain it to me, try to show me. It's lost on me. So happy Palm Sunday. And if you're one of the people that gets to that is able to figure out how to make this, I envy you. Yeah, we were in church this morning. Great service. We were at St. Andrew's. Great job by Father Buckley. And Carmine, is 2 years old. He's napping now. And he likes to run around. And I still really can't figure out how to handle a 2-year-old at church, because we want to go and we want to go to church and we want, church to be an important aspect of his upbringing, but he just wants to run around. And you really wonder, and a lot of times my wife or me will end up chasing him. Now, once a month they do children's chapel in the basement of the church, which is nice, but still, either my wife or me doesn't necessarily get much out of the experience because we're chasing him around and he wants to run outside. So I wonder the same thing I've been wondering about how to handle dinner. I have so many friends of mine that have children his age, and you know what they do? They give their children a phone or a video or something along those lines. And we haven't really done that, but I'm wondering, is the solution to be able to go out to dinner and, give him a phone for a few minutes so that you can have a civilized meal for a few minutes? Or is it to just give up going to dinner or plunk down, $100 for a babysitter? I really don't know the solution. I'm trying to just kind of thinking out loud, but I do wonder about it. But happy Palm Sunday to everybody that's celebrating. And today's a wonderful day to watch one of my favorite movies, Jesus Christ Superstar. And indirectly, that is kind of how I got the name Superstar, because I'm named Superstar for two reasons. One, the good folks at Bally's in Atlantic City elevated me to superstar status, probably because of my gambling losses, and because of the wrestler superstar Billy Graham. And superstar Billy Graham said that he took his name from that picture, or it was a play at the time, Superstar, Jesus Christ Superstar. And it's a wonderful play. I don't know that we'll get a chance to watch the movie today. Maybe I'll put on the soundtrack as I try to do some biking or something along those lines. But if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's wonderful. The interesting thing, I had 2 or 3 Staten Islanders over yesterday on Saturday afternoon, and we were talking about the controversy that has enveloped the first congressional district out on Long Island. And apparently, one of the candidates, John Avalon, who's running as a Democrat, who I like. He used to be a speechwriter for Rudy Giuliani. He's an interesting guy. He used whatever the improper term is for Long Islanders. He said in Long Island instead of on Long Island, or vice versa. Whatever Long Islanders are supposed to say, he said the wrong thing. And so these Staten Islanders were over here yesterday, and they were saying, we don't have anything like that, right? There's no proper way to say in Staten Island or on Staten Island. And the truth is, no. I think every Staten Islander I know is totally fine with you saying in Staten Island or on Staten Island. I don't think there's anything controversial. Nobody would ever say, oh, you're not a real Staten Islander if you don't say on Staten Island as opposed to in Staten Island. People use both, from what I can tell. Now, if you try to say advance instead of advance, then we know you're not a Staten Islander. I started to explain to my friends that's because Long Islanders just want something to be worked up about. And my wife, who was at one time a Long Islander, she was born out there, raised out there, she got very offended that I would say that. So hopefully she's not watching this. But for all of you that are watching this, all 3 of you, including Felix, please send us a lot of likes, give us a lot of thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, and please share this video, the live stream of this video, on social media so that people can watch it later if they don't get to watch it now. As you can see, I am rocking a whole bunch of the vintage WABC gear. I got this new hat. I think this is from the 70s, and this really cool shirt. I love this sweatshirt, and this is very special to me. And you can get all this at WABCRadiostore.com. Very special to me because this era was when I started working at WABC 20 years ago this month. I had a brief break of 10 years where I worked at 970, but this is very special to me because this is what the logo was when I first started working there 20 years ago. So anyway, Tonight's show. So if you want to order anything on there, WABCRadiostore.com, use the promo code Frank15, 15% off. I don't get any percentage. I don't get anything. But I would love for you to buy some of the cool, Frank merchandise out there. Oh, let me show you what I got yesterday. Oh, I think my wife put it upstairs. I got this new Racket Report T-shirt. Boy, is that thing cool. But it's upstairs. But anyway, if do I have any other Frank stuff? Let me see. No, the rest is all just regular WABC stuff. But anyway, I got the new Racket Report shirt yesterday, and I would love, even though I don't get a percentage of the merchandise, I would love it if people would just buy a ton of Other Side of Midnight merchandise and Racket Report merchandise, so that when you go out in the public, it's a great advertisement for the show, and people see, oh, you listen to the Racket Report, you listen to the Other Side of Midnight. By the way, I know we have a lot of people watching right now who may listen to the Other Side of Midnight, but they don't make a habit of listening to the Racket Report. You got to subscribe to the Racket Report, please. You can just go to redapplepodcastnetwork.com and type in Racket Report, or go to any podcast app and just search the Racket Report, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever. Hit subscribe on the Racket Report, and we've been doing some really compelling stuff, really interesting stuff. I'm taping a new episode tomorrow. The latest is my interview with Louis Ferrante, which has just gotten rave reviews. And if you like it, I'd appreciate you not only subscribing and sharing it with friends, but to also give us a nice 5-star rating and leave us a nice review about why you like the podcast. And that helps a lot of people discover the podcast. So for tonight's show, we're going to do something fun. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll do something fun. We are going to talk a little bit about the situation in Russia with this horrible terrorist attack at this concert hall. I'm trying to think of something unique to say, something insightful to say beyond simply, oh, this is so horrible. It certainly is horrible, but I'm trying to think of something a little bit more substantive that I can add. Additionally, I have a wonderful guest on. She's a psychologist, Lori McDonald, who's going to be talking about the Mandela effect. I've always been fascinated by the Mandela effect. I've explored it a bit on the show. And we had a caller, Danielle in Brooklyn the other day, who called in and said, you know what, I just learned about the Mandela effect. You should do something about it. A lot of people still don't know what the Mandela effect is. So we're going to get into it with Lori McDonald tonight. And I'll ask her to speculate if, I'll ask her to speculate if she has a thought about what the cause of the Mandela effect is. Felix says U.S. warned Russia, yet they did nothing. Well, Felix, first of all, given the nature of American and Russian relations right now, I think you could understand why the Russians may not necessarily be taking what the U.S. intelligence agencies are telling them exactly at face value. Additionally, the Russians warned us about the Tsarnaev brothers. When the Tsarnaev brothers came to America and the U.S. offered them asylum and paid them, the Russians said, those guys, keep an eye on them. What did we do? We not only offered them asylum and kept paying them and protected them and allowed them to stay in the country, but we allowed them to go forward with the Boston Marathon bombing. So this idea of, countries, these two countries specifically, the U.S. and Russia, not listening to one another because of the distrust that they have for one another, that is nothing new. All right. Subscribe to the podcast. Please listen online. If you have a smart speaker or something like that, I'd appreciate it if you set your alarm to play 77 WABC starting at 1 a.m. If you have the app, the 77 WABC app, I'd appreciate it if you set the alarm to start playing at 1 a.m. because they pay very close attention to these live streaming numbers. And whenever there's an uptick in the live streaming, makes me look good. Whenever there's a decline in the live streaming, I always have a lot of explanations to make. So if you could help me out, even if you happen to not be awake at 1 a.m. Eastern, it would really be a special favor to me if you could make sure your app or your smart speaker is streaming at 1 a.m. at 77 WABC. If you're watching this anywhere outside of the country, or not outside the country, but if you're watching this in a city that doesn't necessarily carry our show, if you're not in Baltimore, St. Louis, Memphis, Nashville, Detroit, the Catskills, Anchorage, Alaska, anywhere else that carries our show, I would appreciate it if you could write to your local station and try and get them to carry our show, because we're growing slowly but surely. And I just got word this week that two big stations, I don't want to say it yet until it's officially announced, two big stations in other cities are going to be carrying our show. So we're growing, but we can certainly grow a bit more. Felix says he's going to share this video. Thank you, Felix. Please, everybody, share this and encourage your friends to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you're notified every single time we go live. Tomorrow is going to be our final day of doing these live YouTube videos. And then we're going to try 7 days in a row of live Instagram videos. So if you're not following me on Instagram, please do so at Morano Vision, Morano Vision. And if you go to my Instagram now, you'll see this picture of Carmine and me as unicorns that we put up the other day, and a photo I took last night at the Blue Lives Matter Gala with Council Minority Leader Joe Borelli's wife. And let me tell you something, even if you're not interested in following me, it's worth it just to see Councilman Borelli's wife, if you know what I mean. Believe me. All right. Thank you to everybody that watched. Have a great Palm Sunday, and I'll see you on the radio.